And with that, I will invite Joanne to take the stage and make the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Let me get set up here. Oops, 1 second. Okay, great. So can everybody see my screen? Everything's good. So my name is Joanne Tolkoff, and I'm the multimedia communications developer for the Baobab platform. And I also want to thank Jan and InHive and the Enact conference for hosting us today. We're very, very excited to be here. I'll let everybody introduce themselves. The three of us are going to present something as we go along, so I'll let each person do that. So we're here today to talk about how we built and continue to build the Baobab platform. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about Baobab if you don't know about it. Baobab is funded by the MasterCard Foundation, which has been providing scholarships to young Africans for the last 10 years by developing partnerships with universities across the globe, with a main focus on African universities. So the platform was created to keep these scholars connected as they graduated and developed their careers and moved throughout their lives. So try to build a network of these scholarship students and then who are now alumni and moving out in the world. So it is a social, professional learning community for young African leaders, participants and alumni of MasterCard Foundation programs. And the platform is now open to the general public as well. So we are a community of learners, leaders, and young people who share a common passion for building a better Africa. So we started in 2016 with only a few members, and we have grown today to over 18,000 members. And we're going to now sort of talk about how we did that. So we, over the last 5 years, we've been utilizing 3 different strategies. The first one is ambassadors, and Christy is going to talk about that. And that's where we started from the very, very beginning. And community influencers is something that I'm going to talk about. It's a new pilot program, and it has evolved from our ambassador program. And the third strategy that we're going to talk about, and Credo is going to talk about that, is our francophone community. Baobab is a bilingual platform, and we have been working on how to include our French speakers into our community. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Christy, who's going to talk about ambassadors.
Hi, I'm Christy Foot-Desdarbich. I am the Curriculum and Learning Experience Manager on the Baobab team, and I help oversee the Baobab ambassadors. One of our main ambassadors is here with us today in the comments, Andrew Akuluku, who we will mention. So back in 2017, when Baobab only had 25,000 members, we really needed to grow our community, and we really needed help on the continent with our partners. So we researched to see what other people were doing, looked at influence programs and ambassadors programs, and we developed our own that incentivized our super users to help us out. We started with 9 ambassadors at 3 partners. Today we have 124 at 20 partners, and these ambassadors are our backbone. These are our boots on our ground. This is what's really helped us grow. So what is an ambassador? An ambassador is a volunteer who advocates for Baobab by using their social influence to increase awareness and drive action to get people on Baobab. The overall goal is to increase engagement, to increase the amount of people who believe in Baobab, use Baobab, and sign up for Baobab. We look for Baobab super users, those people who are really good at using the platform. We also look for people who are influencers in their community, and we look for people who are connected to other networks. We only have 3 responsibilities. First, to give their testimony in person online, to teach other people how to use Baobab, and to work with their ambassador community to create events. We leave this very broad because we want them to decide what this looks like. They know their community. They know what their community wants. They know how to reach it. So we just say, hey, do this. Do it any way you want. So the Baobab, so it's been very impactful for us. First, they've helped us grow our community. They're one reason why we're at 18,000 members today. They've created a supportive community on Baobab. Someone comes on Baobab, someone's there for them. They also have created these great monthly networking events where our new users and old users and everybody can come together. It's called Underneath the Baobab Tree. They hold them monthly. And every month we see more people participating in it. They also have a really great WhatsApp community where they're going all day long, 24 hours a day with their celebrating birthdays and weddings and everything. If there's something wrong with the platform, we know right away because our Baobab ambassadors let us know. They also help with promotion, and they also extend and amplify our voice within their social networks, which is a really big thing. Overall, these ambassadors are the driving force of our platform and are the main components of the next two programs that we're going to talk about. So Joanne, I'm going to hand it back to you so you can talk about the influencers.
Great. Thank you, Christy. So Baobab was a closed platform until October 2020, and we have slowly been emerging from a community that grew only through university partner affiliations and the work of ambassadors to one that needs a much, much broader strategy. So we at first initiated an influencer pilot where we worked with influencers who had thousands of followers. And it was kind of a scary moment because we've been closed, and it was kind of wild to see us out there on the internet, on social media. And it helped increase brand awareness, but we felt that the influencers themselves didn't represent our brand as well as we thought we could do out there. And so we decided to hire our own ambassadors and start maybe a smaller grassroots program. And so we were looking for ambassadors who were alumni, who were comfortable in social media. And so we had a challenge. While that was going on, while we were thinking about this new program, I listened to a podcast on Hidden Brain about the work of Damon Centola and his new models for how change, like large change, social change happens. And his research reflected more closely our community goals and needs. So we decided to work with some of his ideas. I'm going to play a video because he explains it very well in this 1-minute video, and then I'll unpack it.
Social influence in networks, we tend to imagine two types of people. People in the center of the network who are highly connected and have lots and lots of contacts, and people in the periphery of the network who are much less connected. And when we think about who initiates social change, whether it's Arab Spring or spreading a new product on Twitter or Facebook, we tend to want to target those highly connected people who used to be called opinion leaders and today are called influencers or social stars. If we could just get them to adopt our product, then everyone else would as well. So in a series of new studies, people have been trying to identify what parts of the social network are key for innovating and spreading change. What we found is a surprising thing, which is that social change tends to originate in the periphery and not the core. This means that when we look at trivial news stories or stories by celebrities, they do tend to spread from the center of the network outward. When we look at contentious news stories or difficult to understand new ideas, they tend to emerge in the periphery and grow around the social network, only reaching the central people at the end. And so what this does is turn our classical notions of influence on our head. And what it really means is when we think about social influence, we have to also think about what kinds of things are spreading. And more importantly, instead of looking for important people, now we're looking for important places. And that frames our new idea about how influence in networks works.
So let me unpack a little bit of that. So we've heard about viral marketing, and when something goes viral, it's usually a simple contagion like COVID or movie ideas or, buy this piece of clothing. So a virus can be spread amongst people who don't know each other. So you can be standing next to somebody and you can get COVID. That's called a weak tie. It's easily spread, but it's not really changing a behavior or a belief system. And what that requires is strong ties, a building like a network. It almost looks like a fishnet where people are interconnected with each other, and the ideas spread because of social proof. So if my two friends are going to, let's say, the Arab Spring protest, that says, well, maybe if they're going, maybe I will go, or maybe my relatives are also within this network and they're going to go to that protest march. And that begins to allow me to say, well, maybe I can do it too, right? And so change makers at the periphery, it's a safer space at the periphery to have ideas like this grow. The thing about celebrities and celebrity influencers are that they don't want to risk their reputations. So they're not only going to start spreading ideas once there are a lot more people behind it. So change really happens in these places on the outside of the network. So I just wanted to quickly show you what these networks look like. The strong ties are like this net on the left-hand side. This requires trust and intimacy. Everybody's interconnected, and it's actually a safe space. The weak ties look like fireworks. And then to build bridges between interconnected communities for ideas to grow, you need strong bridges, meaning that those communities are interconnected by many people. So I wanted to show you, waiting for my, there we go. I want to show you how we were thinking about taking these ideas and using them in our community influencer program. So this is a snapshot of a few of the influencers that we hired. We hired 7 altogether. 5 are really new to being influencers, and 2 have more experience and are working as managers. So the 3 women are all connected via the CampFed network, which is an African organization which helps young women in their education goals. And everybody is also interconnected by the MasterCard Foundation, and we're connected via Baobab. And then each one of these women, they're connected together, so they're part of the CampFed network, and they are also connected to other networks like the Yali network, to their own personal networks. And then Andrew, who's down in the bottom there, he is in charge of our ambassador network and our ambassador program. So he amplifies what they do. And of course, they all live in Ghana, so they're connected by their Ghana networks. And Andrew went to school there. He went to KNUST, so he has his Ghana network. So what we're thinking about are networks. And when we were hiring them, we were thinking about who are the communities we want to influence. And they're talking and they're creating trust within these smaller communities. And so the beliefs that we wanted to change were really that everybody's so familiar now with Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, especially young people. They don't know of any other programs but those, which are very, very powerful social networks. And so we're wanting to say, well, Baobab also is important. We don't want you to go away from Facebook, but this is a community, it's vibrant, and it's made up of people who are like-minded so that you can network, it's smaller, you can actually really build community here. So we essentially hired these nano influencers, people with very small networks. And in the last 3 months, they have been able to get over 500, probably more like 600 signups. And for us, that's a very modest, but it's a true. We know that the people that they're signing up are really the kinds of people that we think belong on this network and can get a lot of value from it. So I'm going to now turn it over to Credo, who's going to talk about our francophone network.
All right. Thank you so much, Joanne. I'm Credo Kaninda, coordinator in charge of our francophone community on Baobab. Just to kind of give a little backstory on why this community was even built. So about 1.5 years ago, when Baobab decided to become fully bilingual, we conducted a research study to assess the relationship between the francophone users and this Baobab platform. And the data collected from this research revealed that the majority of these users did not find true value at that time in this platform, mainly because of the language barrier. Now, at this point, we were already in the process of making the platform available in French, but we knew that we needed to first start by creating a community and get it ready for the kind of content that we're going to put up in the months to follow, but also to start creating initial engagement before the platform actually became fully available in French. Now the how. So we knew we needed a grand opening type of event to launch officially Baobab Francophone. And so we hosted the first ever live Zoom Francophone event on Baobab. And for that, we looked at the University of Abomey-Calavi out of Benin in West Africa, which has the highest number of Francophone users on Baobab. We looked at a high-profile individual from that university to serve on a panel, which we knew was going to bring in a lot of people to this event. Like Christy mentioned, we leverage Baobab ambassadors to help us promote this event, which of course was a great success. Now, from the conversations going on in this event and even after the event, we decided that we needed to create an actual virtual space to host this community on Baobab. And so we created the Francophone community channel. And with this channel, how we've been able to grow it. We have a MasterCard Foundation scholar who hosts bi-weekly networking events, which reaches multiple young Francophone Africans all across the continent and bring them to the platform. We also host about 5 to 7 major live Francophone Zoom events for the Francophone community. And we have panelists from all over Francophone Africa serve during those events on the panel, which again brings in people from all over the continent, Francophone Africa. We leverage the Alumni and Residence Fellowship program and the community influencer as well to help us grow this community. In terms of engaging this community, the MasterCard Foundation scholar that I mentioned, we've kind of designated her as a manager of this channel. So she has a welcoming committee, pretty much welcoming all the new members into this community when they first come in, making them feel like they're at home. She hosts games and fun activities in this channel. But we also use this channel for obviously more serious things like pre-event and post-event discussions. We invite guest experts in this channel to host live chat sessions on topics like entrepreneurship or other topics that are of concern, of interest for this community to keep it engaged. So as you can see, through the various Francophone partners within the MasterCard Foundation network, we now have a thriving and growing Francophone community on Baobab.
Thank you, Credo. And we're finished with our presentation and we'll be happy to take questions.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Joanne, Christy, and Credo. That was really interesting and very interesting use of research as well, and the studies that you do internally and externally to inform how you approach your platform and community building. So thank you so much. And indeed, we will take questions after we hear from Tobias as well. So please do keep them coming in the chat. I will pick up on some of these further as well as they're coming. So without further ado, Tobias, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to share what we are doing. And I have to say, I'm super happy to have heard what I just have heard, because it, of course, is a lot of parallel to what we are doing in a lot of places. So I can save you a bit of time when it comes to stuff that you have already heard. But to give you a super brief background, who you are actually listening to. So first of all, it's the International Alumni Center Berlin, abbreviated often as iacBerlin, and we are a doing think tank for impact-oriented networks. So what we do is that we convene people and communities from all over the place, incubate and coordinate networks and alliances, and that we work together with peers on, as mentioned, impact-oriented networks. One is the Bosch Alumni Network. You see there are other logos, but the Bosch Alumni Network is the one that is most developed and which has a platform, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. But before we get there, the question is, why networks at all? Because as mentioned, we are working in networks, not only the Bosch Alumni Network, but other networks as well. And why should we? Because we are meeting today a lot of non-linear, very complex questions. And if you want to find answers to them, we need the capability of non-linearity, which is easier to read than to spell, trust me. So how can we get there? You heard a lot of how we can get there from the previous presentation. To give you a glimpse on how we think there is to transition from left to right. On the left side, you see the classical connection between alumni of whatever kind, normally alumni of foundations in our sector. And you have a very traditional relationship between the foundations and the grantees. And it's top down, it's normally rather directional. We want to change that. We want to see the members as drivers of change. We want to see the alumni as change makers and partners, not as people that accept grants and are in this acceptance situation. So how can we get there? This is a rather inspirational, super short video that you might have seen already. It's the commemoration of starlings. Why we love to share this picture is not only because we simply love it, because it's like you can just watch it and get engulfed in it and just realize that the time that you have for your presentation is completely running away. So I have to be careful here now. But why we show this is that we want to see networks as a living system. And this is a very complex system of birds that do not have a leader in the center, a leading bird that says, this is the direction and there we are going. No way. They do have 3 very basic rules that they are following, which is don't get too close to your neighbor, but don't get too far from your neighbor, and follow the direction that your neighbor is going to, which is roughly the rules that determine how this commemoration is moving. What does this mean for us? I mean, it's inspirational, yes, but what does this mean? It means that there can be cohesion, that there can be connection, even when there is not an entity in the middle that designs how stuff is going to be. And this is something that we want to have in our network and on our platform. And these things guided us when we designed our platform. So a bit of what you already heard before is a bit of network theory, how you get from scattered fragments, just people all over the place, to a so-called hub and spoke system, where you do have a strong middle, the hub, and then you have a lot of spokes, where you can talk about weak ties and strong ties, but we have some entity in the middle that is organizing the whole thing. And the interesting part is if you try to get from there to the multi-hub network, where you do have a lot of sub-networks in the big network. And of course, you can apply a lot of theory in here now, strong ties, weak ties, etc., etc. But as you heard already a little bit about that, and as I want to go to our platform, this is where we try to go with the Bosch Alumni Network. What you see on the right side, the nice graphic, is something I will come to in, I guess, 2 minutes, when I want to introduce to you the Bosch Alumni Network, which is the one that we built the platform for. It is different to Baobab, a closed network, although we have a very open membrane, but it's a closed network. In order to be part of the network, you have to be an alumni of the Bosch Foundation. If you have nothing to do with Bosch Foundation, it will be pretty hard to be part of the network. So it's not completely open to everybody, but the challenge was, it was founded in 2017, to bring people from 50 years of supporting, of grant making, to one place, actually, to give them the feeling of identity of being a Bosch alumni, to give them a place where they could go to. And this is the moment where we thought about, we need a platform, we need a virtual place where they can go to, because it's a very global network. If it would just be in Germany, then it would be way easier to bring them in, because Germany is, compared to Africa, a very small country. And yes, I know that Africa is not a country, but just to have boundaries there, it wouldn't work. So we decided that we need a platform, and that this platform should mirror our decentralized wishes for the platform, and that it should have this global approach and this trust that we can include a living system thought. So this is a bit of the structure of our decentralization. On the left, you see 4, you could say, rooms or areas that serve as a glue between people. Because if they just go to a vast network, super huge, super influential, they heard, but they don't know anybody, there's a high likelihood that they don't interact. But if they come from certain programs of the Robert Bosch Foundation, they know people there. So they have the strong ties that you already heard about. Or they can go to regional groups, knowing that they are from Norway, or perhaps they are from Ghana, and they might find people there, or perhaps it's even smaller regional groups. We do have clusters, which are more theme-driven and topic-driven, and we do have impact fields, which you see on the right side, which are even more topic-driven, where it's people from all over the place working on specific topics. And we wanted to create rooms for them and possibilities of exchange, knowing that there is a theory that we heard in the first presentation, and we wanted to enable that on the platform. So this is a bit of theory as well, that we wanted to cultivate the periphery, as you heard why it's important. Something that we learned was pretty important was mobility grants, because we supported people going somewhere else, meeting other members of the network, and they together will have experiences, learnings, etc. And this should be shared as well, not somewhere, but on the platform. So we did a lot what Baobab did as well. We looked for experts. We tried to bring them in and develop ideas with them together, and to just jointly experiment with possibilities. So it was not our network. It was something that we organized, that we supported, that we nudged in the beginning, but it was not our network. It's the network of the members. So there's a lot to read. So perhaps let's go back here just to give you some ease for your eyes, because when I talk about the platform now, to data security, which is pretty strong in Germany, I cannot show you screenshots or anything the like, but I can give you a maximum 5 minutes overview of how we actually did this. First of all, we thought about, should we build this network from scratch on our own? Should we rely on something that the people are at anyways? LinkedIn, or perhaps Facebook, it's going down, or perhaps it's Instagram, it's WhatsApp, where should it be? And we realized wherever we go, first of all, not everybody will be there. And second, it will never ever cater to our needs in the way that we want to have it. It will always be a compromise. So that's why we decided to go for a so-called PaaS approach. That's the platform as a service. So we bought into, or we have a subscription for a platform that we could completely customize to our needs. And this is very similar to Facebook, to LinkedIn. So you do have your time frame in the middle, where you just see the live feed, what happened. But you do have groups as well. You can make the groups private or open, depending on, for example, on the left side, you see it, which group you're talking, which kind of group you're talking about. Is it a closed program thing where you definitely do only want to have people from that group? Is it something that is very a very sensible topic where you want to be super exclusive, or do you want to be open? We do have a communication system in there, like the Facebook Messenger, for example, where you can talk with one-on-one situations, or you can have a group talk. You can exchange data if you want to. We have a very easy system of connecting or alerting other people. So if somebody posts something in a group or in the live feed, and I think this would be super interesting for Christy, I can just tag Christy there and just alert her, look there, this might be interesting for you, just to build more openings and more possible connections between the members. And once that was established, we only, which is a lot of work as well, but still we only had to give more impulses every now and then. So we have this quoted mobility grants, for example. If we launched another set, a new set of mobility grants, this is coming from us, obviously. If there are new hosts for impact fields, we are in touch with them, of course, but we try to decentralize all of this and hope that we have something like this murmuration of the starlings, that it is moving in a natural way in areas that we couldn't expect in the first place. And this is actually working. It was a struggle in the beginning when we had to convince people to get to another platform. Yet it is not the one that I already have, it's another platform. But once it got alive, it really worked. People support each other, people help each other, people start projects together. And then when COVID hit, first it was a gap, and then it was a possibility, because suddenly people from all over the world did what we were hoping for in the first place. They worked together. We do have, for example, a podcast series that's now going into its 5th edition. It's available on all the podcast downloads, and it's about how people in different countries are coping with COVID. And they do have a team of, I think, 12-ish people that are working on that. They never saw each other. They just know each other from virtual connections and interactions. And we just heard that they did this, and it was amazing. And last thought and last thing before I end this, why we went for a platform as a service opportunity and not building this on our own was that we did not at all want to be responsible for keeping pace with where development is going. So if now people say, in the Facebook Messenger, I can do this and that and that, why can I not do this on your messaging system? Then we would have hell of a lot to do to program that. Now we're just the customers. It's their job to keep the pace, because otherwise their customers like us would go somewhere else. And this was for us very, very, it paid off very well. It was very interesting from the first place. And as we were early adopters as well, we had the opportunity to customize the platform a lot. Plus, their headquarters is in France, so they are under the European data security legislation, which is super strong, as mentioned, in Germany. So we have the organization that has to take care of that. It's not us. We can do what we do best, which is connecting people, working on projects, working on topics. And that's why I'm talking to you, and the touch point to the platform provider. So that's something that I'm quite good at, I guess. And so everybody can do what they do best, but I'm not a programmer. I just talk to these people and translate that back to our coordinators. So far, so good. This is us. If you're interested in what we're doing, not only for and within the Bosch Alumni Network, but what all the theory is and what our experiences with this system, for example, are, you can always get in touch via whatever channel you like to, LinkedIn or homepage or wherever. Would definitely look forward to, and I'm super excited for the questions now, and I hope that you have some in stock, because I think it's a lot of good topics, and Baobab has a lot to offer, so you could definitely send some questions there. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Tobias, and for your presentation as well. I mean, I kind of seeing the different strategic decisions that were made to run the platform, and how there are different approaches, and it kind of works for different skill sets and needs of the different organizations. So it was very, very good to hear the difference. So yes, as Tobias said, the floor is now open for questions. I think we have about 5 or 6 minutes to take questions from the audience, and there were a few already mentioned, and I know Christy responded to a few already. I think there is a lot, and I see a question from Mena as well, and if any of the panelists would also want to answer in the chat. But I think one of the key issues or underlying themes in the presentations and in the questions is around kind of sustaining the engagement on the platform and the different strategies of keeping it, whether it is your ambassadors or whether it is the kind of the community influencers or just quote unquote ordinary members, is these kind of strategies of how do you keep people as volunteers engaged to kind of bring people in to create a sense of belonging in the platform. And so I guess there were a few questions around how do you do it with your ambassadors and your community influencers on Baobab, but also maybe if we can start with you, Tobias, as well, to say, and how do you, if you have any specific strategies that you also use specifically for engagement. I know you already mentioned a few in terms of maybe the mobility grant and others, but any further kind of tips you want to share, and also from the Baobab team?
Happy to. First of all, we try to create safe spaces, and we are in touch with a lot of our members on what actually is on their minds, what do they need, what do they want, and if they see that there's a safe space where they can actually work on what they are interested in, what they see as challenges that they are facing or that others are facing, and they find interesting people that can help them at our platform, then this is something that was really worthwhile so far. And yeah, so this would be one of the brief answers. It's not very specific, so if you need more specific examples, would be happy to, but keeping an eye on the watch.
Thanks, Tobias. Anything else from the AAC team, something you would highlight as an engagement or strategy?
I think for us, it's just keeping them, giving them what they want, keeping them engaged, making sure that we are listening to them and that they know that they're an important part of our community. So we're always keeping our our ears to the ground and yeah, following along. And we also try to incentivize them and, give them what they want. And then our influencers, that we do pay them to be influencers for us. Joanne, is there anything you want to add?
No, but I do want to say it's a very tight-knit community too, and the ones who do engage with us closely actually begin to see that benefit, and they begin to make those connections and build those networks. And so I think the key is that what's the benefit for them? And so we keep trying to expand that as we go along. And I don't know if Andrew is still here, but for him, there was a lot of benefit. And then he created this monthly event that brings in more people, and it just kind of keeps expanding on itself. But it's really what's in the network, what are we doing there that's going to keep them? And so that's the key thing, is once we get them, we need to have the courses and the all the things that make it a good platform.
And maybe a follow-up question to both of you would be also about the design features of the platforms, and kind of as Tobias, you mentioned that there is a benefit of not having to do the coding and the changes to the structure, but at the same time, I guess maybe there are some limitations to what you can change in order to, as you're listening to the needs of your members. So do you have any reflections on the kind of, I guess, the ability to do changes to the actual digital space to drive engagement?
It's definitely a topic. There are a lot of questions and suggestions from our members that we would love to create, but of course we do have limitations there, because we do have a technical provider, and if it's not in the system, it is pretty hard to convince them to create something completely from scratch, because they have other customers as well. So this is a downside. Yes, on the other hand, they do have a lot of other customers, as mentioned, so we can learn from the other customers, because they are using the same system and they do have the same, or at least similar goals. So that's one of the big highlights and benefits that we get there. So perhaps briefly over to Baobab, because otherwise I would just talk too long.
Yeah, we've created ours from scratch, and it's very similar, but we also have the same problem. Sometimes our users have bigger ideas than we can code and get out. So, and then, like I said, Jen Rody, she's here, she can expand more on that. But I think that's just a limitation with tech in general, right? Coding, redoing stuff is expensive, and it's time consuming. So it is, brainstorming and thinking, okay, getting with your team, right? What can we do with what we have, instead of how can we change it?
On the other hand, when you have a PaaS thing, sometimes they come up with something new. We're like, whoa, that's a good idea. We never thought about that. That's cool. How does it work? So there is innovation that is even usable for us, which was never originated by us or by our members.
Right. And we do use third-party software, like our chat channel and our course, the program that delivers our courses. Those are but it looks seamless. It looks like it's all part of our platform. So we don't reinvent the wheel if we don't have to. So we do bring in other softwares and attach it and make it seamless for everyone. And we do, we have a chat channel, and we are competing with WhatsApp and Messenger and all of those. And we're, doing our best to make them come alive and create groups within them similar to Tobias.
Thanks, Joanne. And I think I really appreciate also what Tobias, you mentioned just now about having other people to learn from and having that community. And I think for you, and it coming from the the provider services that you get, and I think as we're kind of at the end of our time together, I do want to just encourage people to stay connected and to continue the conversation around sharing learnings. I put quickly in the chat how potentially you could do that in support with InHigh, but there are other, of course, opportunities to continue this conversation at the festival as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your insights. We will be following up with further communication if people are interested. I know there's a lot of other questions in the chat that we didn't get to. I'll make sure we note those and come back to people for further conversations at the end of the festival. So at this point, I just want to again thank our panelists, our speakers for sharing their thoughts, for everyone for being with us, and hopefully seeing everyone sometime soon. And as you're logging off, I invite everyone to maybe put into the chat one thing they're taking away from this conversation, something that they can think about for their own platform or community, something that they have learned and potentially are able to implement going forward. So thank you, everyone, and hope to see you soon.